OP13 release events are just around the corner, and they're looking to shape up the meta incredibly if you haven't seen from our live streams of the Japan regionals or any other videos. With a brand new set comes brand new decks, and if you're someone like me that loves to try the brand new decks coming into the format, I've got in this video a deck list for each of the OP13 leaders in this set that you can have ready to play in this upcoming format. Some of these are my list that I've been personally playing online, and some of them are ones that I've seen from trusted individuals. So I think it's a good combination of stuff that you can take and start building upon, practicing on sim, etc. heading into this format. But before we get into it, let's hear more from our sponsors so I can pay rent this month. Listen, if you're itching for a brand new playmat, now is the time to check out Nen Garden, the sponsor of this video. Not only do they have brand new pre-orders up on their website for Chaos Crew, Green Fury, and the Absolute Ruler designs, which by the way, are phenomenal. But if you're a fan of Goldie Roger, Nen Garden actually put out a new playmat called the Journey's End, showcasing Goldie Roger himself, and you yourself can find his one piece with the possibility of a 1 in 20 chance to get the special wanted playmat. And on top of that, if you're like me and you absolutely prefer cloth mats, Nen Garden has officially posted on their site cloth mats for Green Fury, Absolute Ruler, Berserk, and Journey's End. Plus, if you want a ton of other great accessories that aren't just playmats, they've got the King of Hearts t-shirt, matching pin, other pins alongside of it through the whole cake island, and even stickers. Make sure with whatever you want in Nen Garden, use my code Atrocious for 8% off. The link to their website is in the description below. Thank you so much for Nen Garden for sponsoring the video, and let's get back to that video. Ace, if you do not know, has 2 different leader effects as a red-blue leader, 3 life, 6,000 power. On opponent's attack once per turn, if you trash a card from hand, you can give up to one of your leaders or characters on your opponent's side minus 2,000 power during the battle. It's a great way to get out of attacks, right? Especially as a 6k leader. Forces your opponent to attach several Dawn to be able to swing 8 at least on their leader or some of their characters at the beginning of the game, as well as getting rid of some of the bricks that you've got in this deck. You've also got another effect though on your Dawn ×1 once per turn. When you receive damage or your character with 6,000 base power or more is KO'd, draw 1 card. Because board control is such a big thing, right, in a lot of different formats, and removal effects being more prevalent in the upcoming format in 13, you're playing a lot of these different 6,000 power or more characters that you are constantly going to be able to play on the board, right, Marco? Just a huge card to play, right? Being able to draw up to 3 cards with your leader effect on a block. Yamato, right, allowing you to draw cards every single time you play it on the field, because you are a 3 life leader, as well as getting Arrested Dawn for your leader effect if it dies. Jozu, right, being able to control the board, bounce back 6 costs, and a slew of new gates, right, and that doesn't even count some of the ones up here as well that you can play that can get removed in various fashions. The big combo of this deck, though, that really took this deck by storm and put it as a forefront within the meta is the 8 cost event from Starter Deck 22, I Am Whitebeard. Now, more often than not, you are more than likely playing it with the OP13 Whitebeard, right? It's an incredible card. Do not get me wrong, especially as an SR, a 12,000 power blocker that you can play on your 8 Dawn turn, as well as being able to draw, filter out your hand, and give 2 Dawn to both a leader and a character on field. This unlocks you to play a lot of different combinations, and you can kind of mess around a little bit with tech cards, right? I have a one of Edward Newgate right here in my version of the list. We'll see it later with Roger, but plus 2,000 power in a lot of situations is very good, right? Allows you to be an 8k leader through your opponent's turn, and this guy's able to get around some chum blockers that may be sitting on your opponent's side of the field. It's searchable right off of the EZO because it is a Whitebeard pirate, so good, but you can choose not to play it if you don't own this card. Maybe you're a little bit newer into the game. You also can possibly play this Newgate, which is often referenced as Taxbeard. This guy is really good into the Emu matchup, right? Or any other deck that really swarms. Basically buys you a turn by forcing your opponent to pay 2 cards from hand if they want to attack with any characters on the field. You're really, at that point, after you play this down, you're only looking at about one swing per turn right from your opponent's leader. It's a great way to slow down the game, kind of adjust on board and build up some power to be able to finish things off. There's some other tech cards that are present within this deck, right? Atmos is one that we saw in the 3v3 winning list in one of the recent Japan championships, even though I don't think you need this card. The one thing that is really nice though is that this is pretty good within the mirror, right? Being able to remove Marco and also some other prevalent 4 costs that you may see in some matchups, right? Zoro, we're going to see run some 4 costs that are very good. It's good to have this card as an option. And then Thatch is another card that a lot of people are looking at, right? Especially when you're trying to KO different characters on the field and you're trying to do a little bit of board control. Maybe they're going in like a starve method. Thatch is a searchable 2K that allows you to be aggressive on that board, try to knock out some characters. Ace is definitely on the forefront of the meta, and I would call it the second best deck of the format, and don't worry, we'll get into the #1 deck soon in my opinion. Now we've got Emu here, which I personally think is the best deck of the format, and this isn't my list, this is an exact 50 of Guanrong, the former world champion that actually won the Malaysia 1v1 with this exact deck list. So it's a tournament winning list that you can try and start out with. Emu, if you do not know, a 4-life mono black 5,000 power leader with an activate main once per turn. You may trash a celestial dragon type character on your field or 1 card from your hand in order to draw 1 card. This deck is ultra consistent, right? Especially with the searchers of the Saint Shalria, as well as the searcher event of the 5 elders are at your service, and even in the later stages of the game, Saint J. Garcia Saturn, right? Running 12 different searchers within this deck, especially because of Emu's other leader effect of being able to play a Mary Joie, actually, I think is how you guys were telling me to pronounce it, type stage from the deck. You're basically playing a 49 card deck because you're always putting out at the beginning of the game either Empty Throne or the Holy Land Mary Joie. In the mirror match, you're always putting this stage out, but in pretty much every other matchup, you're getting the Empty Throne, right? And especially as the game goes on, this stage becomes more and more powerful, being able to play out a 10 cost 5 elders for literally 3 Dawn, right? Because of that condition on the activate main to play a 5 elders type character with the cost equal to or less than the number of total Dawn on your field from your hand. It allows you to get the Exodia 5 Elders combo off of playing the 5 different Elders from your trash on the field. So basically all game, what you're doing is you're trying to do a lot of searches, you're trying to build up the trash and be able to set yourself up for this combo, right? To be able to cycle this pretty much every single turn. It's incredibly strong, especially as Saint Shepherd Jupiter, right, makes all of these 5 elders 7,000 power base. And there's a lot of interesting tech cards that you can include in this deck, right? Guanrong is opting for Shirahoshi, right? An excellent 1-drop 2K to be able to force your opponent, if they have a ton of cards in hand, to trash one of those cards, as well as what I have found to be the most interesting, I'm Losing My Edge. It's a 1-cost Navy event that only gives you plus 1,000 power on a leader or a character, but your trash has 10 or more cards. You can add a black character with a cost of 3 or less from your trash to your hand. More often than not, it's going to be one of your 2Ks, right? A Shirahoshi, a Shalria, or Majo's Guard. I've actually never pronounced this guy. This is really, really nice too, in my opinion, because you can actually use this event and then pitch whatever card you got from this event because you're still in the counter phase, right? So this is basically like a 1 Dawn plus 3,000 power event card, which I find to be a really, really cool addition, and I think he actually likes this card a lot. I also recommend that if you want to learn a little bit more about this deck, because this deck is fun and is really cool heading into this format, and as a brand new deck, you're going to want to learn as much as possible before all the treasure cups, regionals, etc. store championships that are going to be coming on in the month of November. I highly recommend jumping on and taking a look at Ikylakai's Guide. If you know who that is, it's another YouTuber on YouTube. Obviously, he's on YouTube if he's a YouTuber, and a good friend of the channel. I love his stuff, and the Emu Guide is like 57,000 words, which is absurd if we're talking about metafied guides. I wouldn't recommend it if I didn't believe in it. I know he worked really, really hard on it for a long extended period of time as someone who played the entire OP13 format, and I'll link it down in the description below if you're interested in reading through it. I will say also, I didn't mention this earlier, which I should have, but I will have every single one of these decks as well in the description in like a paste bin or something, to where you're easily able to copy them and paste them into the sim yourself. Oh, another tech card that I really like in the deck, the Emu deck, is Stussy. I've talked about this before on the channel, but Stussy is just a good generic black card, right? Being able to KO any of your opponent's characters, especially in something like the Ace matchup. They put that 10 cost Newgate on the field and you get rid of it immediately. You do so much damage to your opponent's side of the field, and plus you establish a 9,000 power body. I will say it is not searchable, so you're gonna have to either set up your deck, right? Because of all your aggressive search, you're probably gonna loop your deck, or be able to draw into it through your Emu effect to be able to utilize it. I totally skipped over Bonnie in terms of going in alphabetical order. That's my apologies, but I've got a Bonnie list right here. Bonnie, in my opinion, is probably the worst leader in OP13, and it's not because it's a bad deck at all. It is just the other decks are better than it, right? I mean, two of the three, Ace and Emu, are, in my opinion, the two best decks within the format. Every single one of these leaders is viable, including this Bonnie. And here's a Bonnie list that I've really liked looking at. I haven't done too much testing with it, so it is definitely more of a raw deck list. But this Bonnie, the leader effect, if you do not know, 5 life, 5,000 power, mono yellow, Egghead Bonnie Pirates, has an effect your turn once per turn. This effect can be activated when you play a character with a trigger. Give up to 2 Rested Dawn cards to your leader or one of your characters. So obviously, you're playing a ton of characters with trigger in this deck, right? Coming down from the searches on Lilith, which, by the way, finds any trigger card. You've got Otama right here, which can be some extra damage, right? Beige, obviously, because you're a mono yellow deck that loves trigger, so why not have a searchable 2K as well as one of the best trigger effects in the game, in my opinion. The 3 cost Bonnie, right? Especially with that Dawn ×1 and different ways to be able to burn life, like Nico Robin or use his Captain Kidd or this 9 cost Bonnie. This Jewelry Bonnie's really nice because not only on attacks can you prompt this Dawn ×1, but also these burn effects can just be really good, right? To draw 2, trash 1, filter out your deck. Edison is a nice searchable 2K, right? That was added in OP13. You got Kiku Nojo that heals you a life, right? A super sticky body on the field. Some Frankies to be able to potentially play and go aggressive for game. Basil Hawkins burning a life. Nami as some decent removal, although I think KO removal is really tough because Emu's Elders all have protection effects. Boa Hancock, right? A PRBO2 card to be able to tell a character or leader that's not named Luffy, you can't attack in the next turn, is pretty good, right? You may have seen me on the channel playing a bit with Arlong, right? Another card of that stature. You've got the Nico Robin in here. I would say you could play more Kumas than just one, but as a deck that really relies on a lot of the trigger cards, you probably might just want to either stick with one or maybe none at all. Stussy, right, even though it doesn't have a trigger, is a really nice card, right? Because you can play a character with cost of 5 or less with a trigger on the field from your hand, which is a lot of your deck, right? You could do a Boa, Nami, Hawkins, Frankie, Kiku Nojo, Edison, Bonnie, and I guess Lilith if you want to. I don't know if that's a good play, but allows you to swarm the board, right? And especially with this Stussy effect of playing on another card, it does activate your trigger effect. A drop uses Captain Kidd, I've said on the channel, is just a generically good yellow card at this point. A lot of yellow decks just slide this in because that on play and end of turn effect is so good. You've also got the Jewelry Bonnie, right? This Jewelry Bonnie, such a good card to be able to play, right? 9 cost, 10,000 power rush, right? Because your leader is Egghead and force your opponent to take a life. It's almost like a reject, right? One of the banned cards in the One Piece trading card game. And then I'm sure these events are definitely flexible. You can choose whether or not you want to play any of these. Zero cost event, just really good, especially if you hit it off life or be able to get rid of some of the bricks in your hand, give them some counter value, pseudo counter value. You've got Blaze Slice, right, which has seen kind of an uptick, I feel like, lately with some of these decks to be able to rest a 4-cost or lower character, which is good into Emu, which is good into Ace, right? You'll love to have that as well as getting a little bit of power and 200 million volts Amaru, which does effectively the same thing, but gives you even more power. If you love a rogue deck and you love a sleeper pick, Bonnie is definitely one of them, and I highly encourage you playing that, especially if you've already got like at least one Kuma, right? If you have a Kuma or two in your collection, now's the time. Let's go into Luffy, right? Luffy in OP13, in my opinion, is one of the more creative leaders, I think. A Dawn ×1 on opponent's attack as a 4-life, red-green, 5,000 power leader. If you have 5 or less active Dawn cards on your field, you may rest any number of your active Dawn cards. If you do, up to one of your leaders or Straw Hat Crew type characters gains plus 2,000 power for each Dawn that was rested by this effect. Now, this is specifically one that did very well in a flagship, right? And I don't agree with some of the things, but there are some really cool things about this deck that I do want to hit on. One, you're still using Cavendish, right, as one of the premier supernova type cards, and Sanji. One thing that you can do if you want, instead of the Cavendish, because Cavendish is expensive, you can go ahead and play this Roronoa Zoro, right? Essentially kind of does the same thing as Cavendish, except it's a little bit less power, bringing up 2 Dawn with the on play. You're basically playing out a lot of these characters, the Sanji, you've got the Luffy, right? As well as the Jewelry Bonnie on the defensive side, setting up a Dawn as active at the end of turn or through your opponent's turn to be able to utilize and essentially have a ton of 2Ks in hand. This Garp also really cool in the deck, in my personal opinion, because it allows you to run different cards within your deck, being able to find cards with a cost of 3 or more that aren't necessarily Straw Hat Crews or Supernovas, allows you to go ahead, get the Bonnie, right, get the Tashigi protection effect into your hand, which leads to a ton of great plays alongside your Nami Searcher. One of my favorite cards in this deck, though, is a 2-cost event from Don Quixote Pirates in OP05, is Charleston. This is a really cool 2-cost counter event that you can utilize where you give up to one of your leaders or characters plus 4,000 power and then you discard a card. If you did discard a card, you could set up to 3 of your Dawn cards as active, which if you have a Dawn on leader is essentially 6,000 counter power. This deck is really aggressive, right? Being able to utilize 9-cost Zoro, an unblockable Straw Hat Crew card, and also Gum Gum Giant Pistol, right, for an extremely aggressive endgame. I like this list. I think it's really cool. You can play around with some of the different ratios if you want. I don't know. It probably just depends on what your local meta looks like, but just a really fun deck in general, in my opinion. We've also got Gold D. Roger here. Now, Gold D. Roger is the first 7,000 power leader in the One Piece trading card game at base, but at the beginning of the game, he's actually a 5,000 power leader up until he gets to 10 Dawn. He's a 5-life red-purple Pirate King Roger's Pirates leader that says if you have any Dawn cards on your field, give 1 Dawn card that would be added during your Dawn phase to your leader. Essentially, what that is saying is when you go first, right, and you have 1 Dawn, when you go to your second turn and go to 1 to 3 Dawn, because before your Dawn phase you had that 1 Dawn on field, one of the 2 Dawn that you get at the beginning of your turn, you are going to attach to leader. That basically means that Goldie Roger during your turn for the beginning of the game is going to be a 6,000 power leader, right? Because you're always attaching 1 Dawn to your leader. But this deck pretty much consists around ramp cards, right? You have the Buggy, right, which allows you to ramp a card. You've got Douglas Bullet, which ramps a card. Kozuki Odin adding a card. Scopper Gavin, which I really wish his name was Scooper McGavin, but unfortunately No. He's going to ramp one card too. Even Katakuri ramping a card. Silver's Rayleigh ramping a card. You've even got a Gear 2-esque type of card to be able to ramp a card. Bon Clay's even ramping. Obviously in December, when we start getting our tournament promos at our local stores, you'll want to throw in 4 of these Goldie Rogers. But for the time being, because he's not legal for the first month of this leader's release, I wouldn't think about playing it. Instead, I would go ahead and play these Edward Newgates. They're not necessarily searchable in your deck, right? Because he's a 4 Emperor's Whitebeard Pirates type, right? Cannot be found off Shanks trying to find just Roger's Pirate. But he kind of fulfills that same role of plus 2,000 power for your leader to make you a 9,000 power leader in the late stages of the game. One of the reasons why this leader can be so good is because a lot of decks just don't know how to interact with a 9,000 power leader. In this deck as well that we've got excellent utility 2Ks like Sanji and Uta within the deck, right? Uta especially good because when you're playing out these 10,000 power characters like the Newgate, Shanks, or even the promo Roger, on a full 10 Dawn turn, if you just have 10 active Dawn, none attached, you can go ahead, play out this Goldie Roger and also this Uta. And in a turn, if you play out a Shanks the very next turn, you could do something like Katakuri, Uta, right? Playing out that for 2. This deck, honestly, in my opinion, feels very predictable. It's just about, can you deal with that kind of predictability in the game? And honestly, if you're not careful, a pretty good deck. I think got second as part of one of the 3v3 teams in one of the recent Japan championships. Definitely makes it a meta contender. The final deck we've got here is Sabo. Now, I've actually already made a YouTube video on OP13 Sabo, so if you want to go check that out, make sure to do so on the channel. This list is a little bit different based on, some more games and your guys' comments on feedback. I did throw in a couple of the Black Vortex, right, or Black Spiral, whatever you want to call it, because as I've said previously on this channel, just a lot of black decks are running this card for the Zoro matchup specifically. And because I think it's just a awesome card, very, very good. Just a one of Goldie Roger, right, to try to close out games, especially against like Emu or Ace. The most important card in this deck that you are going to play with is this Sabo, right? This Sabo being a 6-cost 7,000 power blocker, also has an activate main once per turn of giving one of your characters plus 2 cost until the end of your opponent's next turn, and then giving a rested Dawn to your leader. A lot of times you're just going to give this Sabo the plus 2, right, to make it an 8 cost, and the 1 Dawn works so well for this leader and is such a great card in combination because Sabo originally is a 5-life red-black 5,000 power leader. In the early stages of the game, he's actually minus 1,000 power, making him a 4,000 power leader, but once you get down to 3 life, he moves back up to 5,000, and if you have a Dawn attached and a character with 8 or more on the field, you give your leader and all of your characters plus 1,000 power. So in the early game, he's a 4,000 power leader, and in the late game, he's a 6,000 power leader. Especially when you talk about different ways to have an 8-cost character on the field, like this hack, right? Being able to be plus 4 and be an 8-cost character to where if you are playing it on your 5 Dawn turn, boom, you've got your leader effect for that plus 1,000 power, making him also a 6k blocker, which is really important. Your Sabo being an 8-cost body as well, like I mentioned, also synergizing so well with your leader effect, and being able with Dragon to be able to constantly replay these Sabos on the field, because in the trash, this Sabo is a 6-cost. Perfect combination with this Dragon. And once you start getting those going, right, once you have 2 combos of Dragon and Sabo on the field, it's really hard, in my opinion, to lose games. My main issue with this deck, though, that I think a lot of people can agree with, is this is very much a going second deck. Like, you need to go second with this deck. And oftentimes when you lose die roll, you're very much fighting an uphill battle. Your game plan also is very linear in a lot of senses, which is why I love playing the tech cards like Stussy, Black Spiral, Marcus Mars, right, to be able to throw your opponent off with a little bit of sauce, while also playing cards that really just have good synergy with your deck in general, right? Being able to get rid of a 5 cost base and also potentially being an unremovable blocker is just so good. And I talked about it earlier with Stussy, but especially in the Ace matchup, I think I have a video against Ace in my Sabo video that I did. Once you use this on the Edward Newgates and you neutralize their field while also just giving plus 1000 to your entire board all the time, right? Like, this is a 10,000 power character. This is a 9,000 power character. This is an 8,000 power blocker. This is a 6,000 power blocker. You get to do so much within this deck, and building trash is pretty easy, especially when you have the Koala and also the Revolutionary Army HQ. But that's going to be all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. And again, if you want any of these deck lists, feel free to go to the description below and check out the paste bin that I have. I'm going to try to be a little bit better in like some of my videos showcasing deck lists to have paste bins ready for you guys for any of the decks that you actually want to try. Help save you a little bit of time rather than just looking and then putting in, looking, putting in again, looking, putting in, etc., etc. We've got a big weekend ahead going live for not only the Japan Championships, but also an online regional. So if you want to tune into that, please subscribe. We're so close to 20,000 subscribers. Please, 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 to help make sure that more people see this video, leave a comment, even if it's just, hey, I liked your video, or leave a like as well. Share, tell your friends about this video or anything like that. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you in the next video, and keep playing One Piece. I'm having a great time playing right now.